Hey internet, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shawnee and I identify as bisexual / queer, and I also use the term gay as like an umbrella term. I'm really excited about today's video. You already know what I'm going to be talking about. You saw the title. Today's video is all about coming out, specifically how I came out to people. I'm gonna tell you guys how I came out to my parents, my siblings, my friends, and then everyone else. So yeah, let's just jump right into this video. So it's currently fall 2020, and fall 2019 is when I first came out to myself and then started coming out to other people. So it's been a year. If you watched my coming out story, then you know a little bit of my backstory and like my relationship with queerness and like what my life was like growing up. I grew up in a religious family. Coming out to yourself is like the first step. I feel like that part is the longest part of the process. Sometimes, at least for me, it was. It took me until like my mid-20s to realize that I was queer, and that like last few weeks and months of really like questioning and trying to figure myself out before I finally, came to terms with it, it was pretty intense. The process of realizing that you are queer is a really intense process. I grew up personally being a really strong LGBTQ plus ally, and I truly thought I was straight until my mid-20s. And like the high school I went to was really open, and my high school was really gay, and I grew up in a really accepting city, Seattle, Washington, and like just the West Coast in general. I mean, now I live in Los Angeles, really accepting. But when it came to me, it was hard for me to finally admit to myself that I liked girls. And I do remember last year, there was an actual moment where I was standing, looking in front of the mirror, looking at myself, and I had to force myself to say the words, "I'm queer." And it's weird because it was hard for me to say those words. It's interesting, like you can be the strongest ally, you can be the strongest advocate, you can be the most accepting person in the world. But when it comes to you and like it being about you, it's like can be weird to come to terms with that and hard, and it can be a long process. When I first came out to myself, the thoughts I was having were things like, okay, I'm never gonna tell my parents ever. Like they can never know about this part of me because I just didn't want them to look at me differently. That's how I also felt about like coming out to everyone else. I was like, I don't want people to think of me differently or see me as a different person. And so that was like one of the biggest things that made me hesitant to come out to anyone. Like the biggest thing that pushed me to want to come out to my family and my friends and eventually the internet was just wanting to share that part of myself because I was really excited. Just having this huge realization about your life and this huge like epiphany about yourself, and then having met someone that I liked, when I was talking with my friends, I wanted to actually be able to like tell them about what was going on in my life and not like change the gender and like change the story and then the pronouns of the person who I was talking about. And eventually like the urge to just have people to talk to these things about is what pushed me to finally do it. So the first person I came out to is actually a girl that I kissed. She was the first person. I feel like that doesn't really count. I guess it does, but like I also feel like that doesn't really count. The first people who I like officially came out to are two queer women that I have in my life because they felt like the safest choice because they're queer, so what the heck were they gonna say? I think you guys know who you are if you're watching, so hi. It was a really interesting string of events because they were making this queer project like to film, like a story, like a pilot episode, and I was going to be playing one of the characters, and the character I was going to be playing in their project happened to be queer, but I wasn't out at the time. Even to myself, I was still really questioning at that time. I remember at one point we were on set and my sexuality came up twice. Once when one of the ladies asked me, hey, so what's your deal? Like, how do you identify? And I honestly answered by saying, I don't know. I don't know yet. I'm actually currently trying to figure that out. And then at another point that day, we were like doing cast interviews, and one of the like producers was asking me if I wanted to talk about my sexuality in the interview, talk about how I relate to the character. And I remember not being comfortable with that at all because I just was not ready and I just hadn't even come to terms with it myself. But the two ladies who were working on that project are the first two people who I came out to. So how that went was I was at their house and I don't know, we were talking and I was talking about like some kind of like queer event I wanted to go to. I think I just like came out and said it, and one of them said something to me like, yeah, we know, like we know already. And to me that was like, well, it was confusing because one, even though they're queer, it was terrifying saying the words to them, I'm queer. But then also for them to say, yeah, we knew that already. Honestly, I was a little confused because I didn't know anyone could possibly know that about me. I feel like, you know, I look very straight, but apparently they just knew and they got the vibe, which was very surprising to me. Next person I came out to, so it was Comic-Con, okay, and I was with like a huge group of my friends, and it was after Comic-Con, and we were all at this restaurant sitting at this huge table, and it was loud and everyone was talking, and I was sitting next to one of my friends, and she was just asking me, we were talking about if we were each dating anyone at the time, or if we each liked anyone, you know, like things friends talk about. And I was like, yeah, I do like someone actually. And she was like, oh, what's his name? Can I see his picture? You know, there's that moment that you have where you have to correct them because they're using the wrong pronoun. And I could have just, you know, not said anything, but I felt like telling her. So I was like, well, actually, it's a she. And then she was like, oh, she literally, it wasn't a big deal to her. This specific friend, she reacted by saying, oh, my bad, sorry, I didn't realize. And I was like, no, it's no big deal. And she actually told me that she might identify that way too, and she's always kind of thought maybe she did as well, which is interesting. And she's not the only friend who I came out to who ended up kind of coming out to me back. There were a lot of our other friends were also at the table, but no one was really paying attention to our conversation. Not that I really would have cared either way. Next group I came out to was kind of a funny story. It was my birthday last year, last November. I was at a bar with a group of my friends. It's kind of funny because I ended up accidentally coming out to pretty much everyone there, but I didn't plan on doing that. It just kind of happened. And how that happened was the friend I told you about at Comic-Con at the restaurant who I came out to, she was at my party at the bar. We were all a few drinks in, and it was a little ways into the night, and we were all having fun, and she was asking me, hey, how's it going with that girl you were telling me you liked? We started talking about her, but then other people from our group just came over, and it just kind of became this thing where people were like, hey, what are you guys talking about? Who are you guys talking about? Oh, a guy? You know, I just kind of said like, no, we're talking about a girl, and like it was loud in the bar, and you couldn't even, like I had to like yell to even be heard, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I like girls and I also like guys, like whatever. It was like it was kind of really funny, actually. We're in the middle of a crowded bar, dimly lit bar. It's loud, there's loud music playing, and everyone's trying to understand what's going on. And so I just kind of came out to a lot of people. I was a little nervous because you never really know how people are gonna react. Homophobia is a thing, and you can be really good friends with someone and they could still wanna end that relationship with you just because you're queer, and you know that happens all the time. All of my friends reacted just fine. Some of them didn't even really totally hear me. There was just a lot going on. But two of my close friends were there. One of them I had already come out to, and then another close friend was there. So she was someone I actually did want to have a like actual conversation with, and not like in the middle of this crowded bar with all this stuff going on. I didn't plan on coming out to her specifically that way because, you know, she's an important person to me and I wanted to have a legit conversation, but it ended up not going like that. And so she found out that night there was a lot going on, and I said, yeah, I like girls and I like guys. I didn't know how she was gonna react, but she said, oh, okay. And then I said, it's okay if you need time to process that. I know it's a lot. And she literally said, no, I don't need any time to process it. I don't need any time, which I thought was so cool. I just love the way she reacted. And I don't think you ever forget how people react when you first come out to them. But I think her response was one of my favorites. So I also feel really lucky because so far I haven't had any friends in my life have a problem with me being queer. If they did have a problem with it, I wouldn't be keeping that friendship. I can't see myself keeping a friendship with someone who doesn't accept my queerness. So how it happened for me was, I came out to friends first, then I came out to my siblings, then I came out to my parents last, and then I came out to everyone else / online. It's interesting because the idea of coming out to anyone was really, really scary to me, but the idea of coming out to family was like 50 times scarier than the idea of coming out to friends. And I think this is just because it's your family, you know, it's your family. My siblings are all like strong LGBTQ plus advocate. I'm not the only queer one in my family. I wasn't the first to come out. Even knowing all of that about my siblings, like just the idea of coming out to your family is just really freaking scary. But finally, I worked up the courage to do it. This was so hard, you guys. It's hard for me to even explain how hard it was. It was really hard, but I finally just was like, I have to do it. It's time. The night I ended up doing it ended up being Thanksgiving. So this is Thanksgiving 2019, last year. It's almost Thanksgiving 2020. That's crazy. So Thanksgiving. Family's over. We're all doing our thing. It was a small Thanksgiving, so it was just my parents and my siblings and me and our grandma. I don't remember if I decided I was gonna do it or if it was like halfway through the night I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I don't remember how premeditated it was. So I said something like, hey, to my siblings, I said, guys, I need to talk to you guys about something. We need to have a meeting. Or I said something weird like that. I need to talk to you guys outside. And I made it like a really big point, like in front of everyone, to say, it's about Christmas. We need to talk about some secret Christmas plans, and we can't let mom and dad hear, because I just wanted to get them like away from our parents. It's pretty funny because I'm pretty sure they knew that I wasn't gonna talk about Christmas because I was just being so weird. I got my siblings to all come out. We like went into my stairwell, just to be alone. Kind of a weird spot, but whatever, that's where we went. And they're all sitting there staring at me like, what's she gonna say? And so I start talking about like Christmas, like, yeah guys, Christmas is coming up. We need to talk about our plans. And I was stalling because I was so freaking scared. And eventually I was like, okay, I have to be honest. I didn't bring you guys here to talk about Christmas. I brought you guys here to tell you something. I think if you've come out, you know this feeling, like it's so freaking hard to just say it sometimes. I couldn't say it. And as it got to the point where I was like, can you guys just guess what I'm gonna say, please? I can't say it, can you just guess? And they started guessing things like, are you pregnant? Are you engaged? Oh my God. I don't remember if they guessed it or not. I don't think they did. But I just remember I finally said it. It's like how I phrased it to everyone. I always said like, I like guys, but I also like girls. I'm bisexual. I said I'm bisexual / queer. And my brother was like, you're what? Because he like just straight up didn't hear what I said. Because I guess he's not like super familiar with the word queer. So then he was like, you said what? And I had to explain to him what it meant. And then he was like, oh, okay. He knows about the gay community. And like I said, he's always a strong advocate when we're having those conversations with my parents. My second sibling, one of my sisters, said, that's cool. That was literally her reaction. And then my other sister, who was already out to us, yeah, she literally probably said something basic like, thank you for telling us and thank you for being honest with us, or like something like that. And oh yeah, and when I finally was saying it, like near the end, I started crying. God, there's something about coming out. It's just so intense and it's just so emotional, and it can be just really hard when it's someone who's really important in your life. And I'm already an emotional person. I remember I said to my siblings as we were leaving the stairwell and about to go back to like our Thanksgiving, I was like, you guys cannot tell mom and dad. You absolutely cannot ever tell mom and dad. I was like, you guys have to literally pinky promise. And they were like, okay. About a month later, in a few weeks, it was either the first day of 2020 or the second day of 2020 when I came out to my parents. It just finally got to the point where I was like, I needed to get it off my chest. I needed them to know what was going on in my life. I'm the kind of person that tells my parents about what's going on. Like, I tell them everything. Almost not everything, God, but I tell them like a lot. And I was keeping this huge secret from them, and I just didn't want to anymore. But if you thought coming out to my siblings was scary, coming out to my parents was actually the scariest thing I've ever done in my life, hands down. I could say that 100,000% without a doubt. Even if I go skydiving, coming out to my parents is definitely, skydiving's gonna be nothing compared to that. If I go cliff jumping, into a lake, that's gonna be nothing. And I'm afraid of heights, and I'm afraid of deep water. And that's gonna be nothing compared to how scared I was. Oh, if you don't know, I filmed myself coming out to my parents. That video is up on my channel if you want to check that out. Part of the thing that gave me the courage to come out to my parents was watching videos on YouTube of other people coming out to their parents. That helped give me courage. That was a big motivator. And so that was one reason why I wanted to film myself doing it. Another reason was, this is hard to explain. My mother is anti-gay, and I knew that. And like I said, me and my siblings have had many debates with my parents. My mom specifically is anti-gay, homophobic, and she's extremely religious. And that is her excuse for it, which isn't an excuse. I know many religious people, and specifically many Christians, who are totally accepting. So religion is not an excuse. It's what she uses as an excuse, when really it's just her who personally doesn't like it and who personally has a problem with it. So it was almost like I felt like having the camera there and filming this, because I was expecting it to go bad. I just wanted other people to know what they said to me, and I just wanted other people to see it, and it almost felt like the camera was a third person, or like some kind of form of like backup. So I talked to my parents. I took them to this room, like in my apartment building, and I set them down and I brought the camera out, and I was like, I'm gonna film this conversation. And they were like joking, like, is this a study? Is this an interview? Oh yeah, I remember I said, I want to talk to you guys about my New Year's goals. I stalled like I did with my siblings, and I stalled for a long time, and I finally just bit the bullet and did it. God, that was hard. And I started crying, of course. Anyway, just check out the video. It's up on my channel. You can see me stalling. You can see them being like, just tell us, because I was taking so long. My dad's reaction wasn't perfect. Compared to my mom's reaction, it was great. She said some really messed up stuff, some just really not kind things. It was very, very, very far off from, oh, we love and accept you, we want you to be whoever you are. Like in some coming out videos, it was the opposite of that. Some popular quotes, she said, this is because of our bad relationship, her and my dad. She said, oh, you're too pretty, you're too pretty, you need to meet a nice young man. She said, relating being gay to things like liking animals or liking children, she said everything in the book. She said, I'm gonna pray for you, and even more, things you wouldn't even think of, she said. It's all in the video. But I just kept on emphasizing, no matter what she said, I kept on emphasizing, I am dating women now, and I wanted you guys to know that. And it has been, 7-8 months since that original conversation. My dad's been really great, by the way. My dad's been really great. Of course, the initial time he was a little bit surprised and he reacted, and it wasn't perfect. But since then, he's been really great, and he's been like saying, I love and accept you. I'm happy for you. I support you. He's even said he'd be happy to meet any girls that I'm dating or anything like that. I'm trying something with both of them, but really with my mom, I'm trying something. I'm trying to really just normalize the idea of me being gay and me dating women to my mom, and I've just been really strategic about it, and I don't think she knows I'm doing this, and I've just been talking about it with the person I'm dating. I show her pictures and I just talk about it like it's the most normal thing in the world, because it is, right? But not to her. I'm being strategic. I don't know if it's working or not. She's been less hateful, like directly. Ever so often she'll make a comment and it'll be frustrating and it'll be hurtful. I don't want to stretch by saying I think it's working, but guys, I think it's working. If she was up here in terms of like totally being against me dating a girl and being really homophobic and really hateful, if she was up here, now she's maybe here. This is ideal down here, but she went from being here to maybe being here, maybe in her actions. So it might be working, but that is my plan. Like I do actually have a plan in motion. And then after I came out to my parents, literally the next day, I came out on Instagram because I wanted to be my most authentic self on there. And because I'm hella proud of who I am and I was just so ready. I just wanted to talk to my parents first. Ever since then, I've been very vocal about my queerness on my Instagram. And you don't have to be vocal about it. Of course, you don't have to. Every queer person has a right to be as vocal or non-vocal as they want. You don't even have to come out if you don't want to. You can still be hella proud and never talk about it online, so that's not what I'm saying. But for me personally, I love talking about that part of myself online. National Coming Out Day was, I think, October 15th, and National Coming Out Day of this year, October 15th, 2020, was when I finally came out on Facebook. And once again, you don't have to come out on Facebook. But for me, coming out on Facebook was symbolic of a lot of things. It was the last place, well, there are some family members who I'm not going to come out to for certain reasons. Besides the homophobic family members who I am purposefully not coming out to yet. Facebook was the last place where I kind of felt like I was in the closet, and I didn't want to be. I grew up in the church. I'm no longer religious, but it's where all of my church friends are. A bunch of pastors from my childhood and my childhood church are still friends with me on Facebook. A lot of extended family are friends with me on Facebook. The idea of coming out on Facebook was very nerve-wracking for that reason. I remember in January, I was saying, if I don't have the courage to do it, then I'll wait until National Coming Out Day and I'll do it then. I finally did it. I'm out on Facebook and it felt amazing and I got no hate. Some people probably unfriended me, it was probably less like, oh, I'm gonna comment hate on her post, and it was probably more like, I'm not really down with this and I'm not gonna say anything about it. But I didn't get any outright hate, which is amazing, and I got a lot of support. I got a lot of support from people who I did not expect to get support from. Religious people, family friends, and people I've known who I just did not expect to be down with it. That's the thing, people can surprise you, and oftentimes they do. It is interesting though, because you know how when you're queer and somebody makes like a homophobic comment or something anti-gay or even the smallest thing, and maybe they don't mean it that way, you remember it for like forever. There are specific people who throughout my childhood made a few comments like that, and it always stuck with me. And so I always thought, oh, this person is not going to be accepting if I come out to them. But even specific people who made comments like that growing up are now kind of seeming to be accepting of me. So I think that's really interesting. I think it's almost like sometimes people don't even realize the things they say about the gay community can be as hurtful as they are. And I think that sometimes people grow and change and have absolutely no memory of ever saying these things, which is just so interesting, but that's life. I just want to end by saying you don't have to come out. And if you do come out, it should be in your time, whenever you feel ready. Don't let anyone push you to do it. The only timing that matters when it comes to coming out is your timing. And if you're in the closet and you're not out, you're still 100% valid. And I know it can be hard to be in the closet. And I do want to also say, if you do come out, please make sure it's safe for you to come out. It is not safe for everyone, based on where you live in the world, or even like your living situation at home and the people you live with. If you live in the US, maybe the part of the US you live in does not feel safe. Please, your safety is so important. I feel like it's like my responsibility to say that if I'm gonna make a video on coming out. I feel like I have to say, safety first and your own timing, and you don't have to. But if you do decide to come out, yay, good for you. That's so freaking amazing, and it's so freaking brave, and it's like one of the bravest things you can do. And once you are out, it's like the most amazing thing. You are being fully who you are, open to everyone, and that feels amazing. I'll use a personal example. I'm dating a girl, and it just feels so amazing to just be dating a girl and just be living as my authentic self. And I walk down the street and we hold hands. I kiss her in public, and she kisses me, and it's great. Not every queer person even really feels safe when it comes to PDA for so many reasons, but This girl specifically, she really does, and I think that actually really helps me feel more safe doing it, since, you know, I haven't been out for that long. So I do actually really appreciate that, because I don't want to be afraid when it comes to PDA, and I think that's really messed up that a lot of people are, and a lot of people feel like they have to be, and it just feels so great to be living my life the way I am right now as an out person, and I just wanted to say that. So yeah, I would love to hear some of your coming out stories in the comments. As coming out stories are my absolute favorite thing to read. I just freaking love them. More specifically, like, this isn't what this video was about, but stories of how people first realized they were queer or gay. I love those stories. Just please feel free to leave anything in the comments, anything, even if you just want to say hi. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Guys, subscribe, because I will be back very soon. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when I upload a new video. Okay, see you soon. Bye.